it shows you how the product solves a problem or delivers a promise in such a memorable and surprising way, your eyebrows shoot up. Like that 3M unbreakable glass stunt in Vancouver. And that demonstration convinces you to buy the product. But the world is shifting. AI is really going to test our reserve when it comes to seeing is believing. Because deep fakes are remarkably realistic, but still fake. That's why governments are scrambling to put some guardrails on AI development. But the toothpaste may already be out of the tube. Instead of being easier to demonstrate a product dramatically, I actually think it will become more difficult to amaze people. Because I can't believe my eyes is slowly turning into I can't believe my eyes when you're under the influence. I'm Terry O'Reilly. This episode was recorded in the TerraStream Airstream mobile recording studio. Producer, Debbie O'Reilly. Sound engineer, Jeff Devine. Under the Influence theme by Ari Posner and Ian Lefevre. Tunes provided by APM Music. Follow me on social at Terry O Influence. And if you'd like to read next week's fun fact, just go to apostrophepodcasts.ca and follow the prompts to record it. See you next time.
Hi, this is Sabina Voisin from Cambridge, Ontario. Fun fact, believe it or not, it is actually illegal to buy a mattress on Sundays in Washington State. But the police don't lose any sleep over it.
This is CBC Radio 1, 990 AM, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg.
Hi, I'm Heather O'Neill. I'm a novelist, short story writer, and essayist. I'm Defending the Future by Catherine LaRue and translated by Susan Uriu. In this year's Canada Reads, One Book to Carry Us Forward. It's a dark book, but within it, there is so much light that it turns the book into this incandescent work of art.
Canada Reads starts Monday on CBC Radio 1, CBC Listen, and CBC Gem.
You know the feeling of finding a really good podcast? Or the feeling of someone always being there, like your favorite radio show? Stream CBC Podcasts, CBC Music, and CBC Radio anytime, anywhere.
This is CBC News. At 12 o'clock, we're at minus 13 degrees with mostly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Humphrey. The provincial government is making broad changes to the bail system to crack down on repeat offenders. Attorney General Matt Wiebe says the 5-point plan includes $3 million for 12 police officers who will focus on tracking down people who repeatedly violate their bail conditions. $500,000 will be used for community monitoring and supervision. Data will be shared between police forces in the province, different police forces. And Wiebe says Crown attorneys will be directed to look at the impact if the suspect is released.
If someone was to be released, what kind of impact is that going to have on the broader community, not just for the individual, for the broader community, for victims? And likewise, what kind of impact will their release have on public confidence in the justice system? Trust and faith.
Wiebe says there will also be a public safety summit this spring. It'll bring together law enforcement and community to discuss the overall causes of crime. The Trudeau government has tabled a long-awaited bill.
Today in the House of Commons, I was deeply proud to introduce an act respecting pharmacare that lays out the principles essential for a national universal pharmacare in Canada and sets out our plan to provide universal single-payer coverage for a range of contraception and diabetes medications.
That's Health Minister Mark Holland. The Liberal Universal Pharmacare bill, pieced together with the NDP, starts with birth control and diabetes coverage. But the Liberals insist it will pave the way for wider treatment coverage to come. Alberta and Quebec have already said they'll opt out of the initiative, but they say they will take any extra federal money and put it toward their own existing drug programs. Faced with a rising number of asylum seekers, the Canadian government is reintroducing visa requirements for Mexican travelers. Here's Immigration Minister Mark Miller.
As of today, at 11:30 p.m. Eastern, Mexican citizens will need a visa to come to Canada or obtain a valid electronic travel authorization if they hold a valid U.S. non-immigrant visa, or have held a Canadian visa in the past 10 years and are traveling by air on a Mexican passport.
Miller says more than 25,000 Mexicans made asylum claims in Canada last year. And with the majority arriving in Quebec, Premier Francois Legault has been urging Ottawa for help in dealing with the influx. The visa requirements announced today have been dropped by the government back in 2016. Had been dropped. As many as 100 people have been killed waiting for an aid delivery in Gaza City. Health officials in Gaza say the deaths are the result of Israeli troops opening fire on a crowd. However, Israeli officials say the victims were run over by aid trucks, which had been overwhelmed by Palestinians desperate for relief supplies. Here's government spokesperson Avi Hyman.
My understanding thus far is that humanitarian aid vehicles entered the Gaza Strip and were overwhelmed by people attempting to essentially loot, to take that aid from those aid trucks. U.S.
President Joe Biden has been briefed on the incident, and he says depending on the results of an investigation, it could complicate the ongoing ceasefire talks. Statistics Canada is out today with its latest update on the state of the economy, and despite ongoing concerns about a recession, the numbers show there was modest growth over the final quarter of last year. That growth came in at 1%. Most economists agree this ensures the Bank of Canada will hold the line on interest rates when it makes its March setting next week. Environment Canada's senior climatologist says until a few days ago, Winnipeg was spectacularly mild. David Phillips says the unusual winter continues. He says some years the temperature in February never rises above zero. This year, we saw melting temperatures on 13 days.
The relentless kind of warmth just carried on. It didn't matter whether it was morning, noon, and night. If you looked at the average temperature in Winnipeg, for example, was about 7 degrees warmer than it normally would be.
Phillips says climate change and El Nino are causing the warm weather. He says Winnipeg's had one of the warmest Februaries in 150 years. Yet more layoffs are being announced in the gaming sector. The video game maker Electronic Arts is cutting 5% of its workforce, or about 700 employees. This comes just days after Sony announced it's cutting 900 from its PlayStation division. Industry analysts say there are more cuts to come, as the sector's expansion over the past decade appears to have come to an end. Winnipegger Kevin Wynn is getting to do something today that most people take for granted. He's celebrating his birthday. Wynn has one of the rarest birthdays of February 29th because it only comes once every 4 years on leap year. He says growing up, he would complain to his mother about not having an annual birthday. Wynn says he started appreciating how unique it is when he was in his 20s. What's even more rare is he has a first cousin also born on February 29th.
She's 4 years younger than I am or whatever. She and I made a commitment back in the 90s. We reconnected and we started calling each other on leap year. This will all inspire me to go back and reconnect with her. But she's a first cousin, so I thought that's always struck me as pretty unique.
Wynn's 68, but technically today he's 17. And that's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
Good afternoon, Manitoba. You are listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, 97.9 FM in Brandon, on the CBC Listen app and streaming on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Here's what's coming up on the show. Want to run a Crown Corporation? Well, now's your chance to submit your interest in taking over the Freshwater Fish Market Corporation from Fisheries and Oceans Canada. We're going to hear more at around 12:15. Also, a Manitoba family is relieved and overjoyed that their 8-month-old kitten is back home safe and sound after he traveled more than 100 kilometers away from home. More after 12:30. But first up here, the province plans to crack down on repeat offenders by changing the bail system. We'll get all the details coming up. The Manitoba government is outlining new measures it says will make the bail system stronger. The hope is that new bail policies for Crown attorneys and more law enforcement will keep people on bail from reoffending. Manitoba's Attorney General and Justice Minister Matt Wiebe says the 5-point plan includes $3 million for 12 police officers who will focus on tracking down people who repeatedly violate their bail conditions. He announced those changes earlier today.
We've seen too many stories in recent years of people out on bail committing crimes. In 2022 alone, 1 in 5 people charged with violent offenses were out on bail. This has taken a toll on Manitobans and their families, and we're here to send a clear message that our government is taking action to make our streets safer. We're announcing today that we are investing more than $3 million for the Winnipeg Police Service to hire 12 new officers with a specific focus on apprehending serious repeat offenders, including those charged with intimate partner violent offenses, because we know that they are knowingly breaching release conditions imposed by courts. We are also creating a new community monitoring and supervision program. This $512,000 investment will allow us to hire 5 new bail workers who will provide intensive supervision and expanded mental health and addiction supports to ensure that people on bail adhere to their conditions. A key part of our bail reform plan will be the collection and sharing of data, a move that comes directly from the recommendations from the National Police Federation on bail reform. We are investing over $500,000 specifically to expand reporting capacity and to share information among police agencies within the province as well as our partners across the country. We are also, as the Premier mentioned, laying out a clear new set of bail policies for our Crown attorneys that will ensure that their obligation to consider the impacts to community and to public confidence in the justice system is considered at every step. The former government let those previous policies on bail lapse in 2019. These new policies will set out our government's clear focus on public safety and our Crown attorney's role in ensuring and maintaining that community safety. And finally, we're announcing a public safety summit for this spring that will bring together community leaders and law enforcement to discuss shared priorities on addressing the root causes of crime. Together, these new investments total over $4 million, 20 new full-time positions, and a suite of new policies that will make our communities safer. This plan represents the first of many steps that we are taking to make Manitoba a safer place to live, work, and raise a family.
What does success mean under this new plan?
It's an important question. We have, as part of this rollout, we're bolstering our intelligence gathering and data gathering and sharing. It's an important aspect. I know that the Winnipeg Police, and I let them speak for themselves, but they do a great job already of collecting some of this data. What we're doing on the provincial level here is to bring together that information, those resources, and then to share that amongst police and law enforcement across the province. It will be important that we, monitor what's working, continue to invest in those areas that we're seeing some successes, and that's why we're announcing this as our plan, as a first step, an important first step, but one of many that we'll continue to talk about in the coming years.
That is Manitoba's Attorney General and Justice Minister Matt Wiebe speaking earlier today. You can, of course, read more about this story on our website at cbc.ca/Manitoba, as well as on the CBC News app.
Your local news at your fingertips.
CBC News has a local news app made for your phone or tablet.
So don't waste time scrolling for the local stories you want. Just download the app to get the information that matters to you, when it happens,
and how you want it.
Another way to get your local news. The CBC News app. Download it today.
It is 12:12, and you are listening to Radio Noon on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM in Winnipeg, 99.9 FM in God's Lake Narrows, on the CBC Listen app, and streaming on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Still ahead here, Fisheries and Oceans Canada is looking for anyone interested in taking over the Freshwater Fish Market Corporation. We're going to hear more coming up, but let's talk about your forecast now. We do have a snowfall warning in effect for a good part of northern Manitoba. 15 centimeters expected by Friday night. Today here in Winnipeg, we're starting to see some sunshine. Mainly cloudy right now, but sunny breaks this afternoon, high of -7. Southeast wind 20 gusting to 40. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're looking at a low of -10, but that temperature should rise to -2 by the morning. Southeast wind at 30. Tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud and 3 degrees, -6, and sunny breaks on Saturday. Current temperatures right now around the province. Brandon, mostly cloudy at -12. Ice crystals for you in Churchill at -28, but wind chill feels like -41 right now. -13 and sunny in Dauphin with an east-southeast wind right now gusting to 40. Flin Flon -16 and mostly cloudy. Right now in the Paw, cloudy and -15. Thompson -19 and sunny. And in Winnipeg, it's windy. Some drifting snow at the airport, -12. East-southeast wind right now gusting to 45. Well, would you be interested in running a Crown corporation? The federal government is looking for someone to take ownership and charge of the Freshwater Fish Market Corporation. Fisheries and Oceans Canada has been running the FFMC, but is now looking to move forward in the transformation of the corporation. In a news release earlier this week, the DFO says it has launched a solicitation of expressions of interest and will do it through, quote, an open and transparent competitive process. Bonnie Wong-Fortin is the Director General of Strategic Policy and Priorities for Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Good afternoon, Bonnie.
It's my pleasure. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Let's start off by talking about the Freshwater Fish Market Corporation. For people who are not familiar with it and how it works, what is the FFMC?
The Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation is a Crown corporation of the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. We're actively working with the Crown Corporation right now with partners and stakeholders in terms of the role that it plays in remaining competitive in today's open market. It is a Crown corporation that directly serves the needs of commercial fish harvesters well into the future.
So why is Fisheries and Oceans Canada then looking to transition out of running the FFMC and asking for those who might be interested to submit an expression of interest?
Yeah, the Government of Canada will be transforming the Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation through this open and transparent competitive process. What we've done is launched a solicitation of expressions of interest for those who may be interested in the ownership and governance of the corporation into the future. What this solicitation of interest process does is, based on the information that we do hope to receive, we will be launching a competitive process to solicit bids from interested parties. After this competitive process, it would allow each party to submit their proposal or potentially cooperate with others in submitting such a proposal for the purpose of the Government of Canada in assessing the merits of each one of these bids. What we're currently hoping to do is inviting partners and stakeholders within the industry to share their views and submit their interests through our website before the solicitation closes on Friday, March the 8th.
So when you say by taking ownership, this party, this person, they would potentially take over running the FFMC?
So what we have heard over the years is that there are concerns in terms of the future of the Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation. What we have undertaken over the course of the past several years, dating back to 2017, is very active consultations and engagements on its future of this corporation. Directly with Indigenous partners, stakeholders, and industry, we invited them to provide their input and share their ideas on the future of the freshwater fish industry itself. Following these engagements with partners and stakeholders, the minister at the time of Fisheries and Oceans established a ministerial advisory panel that then considered alternate governance and ownership of the various ways of managing the Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation. The overall objective that we had at the time was to ensure that we were able to support collaboration and cooperation amongst commercial fishers.
So will the DFO have the ability then to monitor the FFMC afterwards to make sure the new owner is working in the best interest of fishers?
Our interests right now are to make sure that the solicitation of interest results in sufficient information for us to be able to put forward a request for proposals that would demonstrate that the future of the Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation remains competitive in today's open market, and that it continues to meet the needs of commercial fish harvesters.
Some might wonder, Bonnie, how viable is the FFMC? To go back a little bit in the history, the provinces were a part of the FFMC, most provinces. Now it seems like the Northwest Territories is the only participating jurisdiction in the FFMC. Manitoba dropped out in 2017. So how viable is it?
That's a really good question. Dating back a few years as well, in 2019, I believe, there was a special interlocutor that was appointed in terms of looking at a potential fisher-led governance and ownership model. Since then, there has been a significant amount of exploration within the Government of Canada in terms of exploring several options and proposals. As a result of that consideration, the Government of Canada is now proceeding with the approach to transforming the Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation through an open and transparent competitive process.
So what kind of person would be good at taking ownership, or who are you looking at as might be, who might be good parties to take over ownership of the FFMC?
Mm-hmm. We've heard from many parties. Until we actually hear back through the solicitation of interest process directly from partners and stakeholders on their views in how to transform the Freshwater Fish Marketing Corporation, we're not in a position now to really know what the outcome of the process would be. We do understand the significance of this industry, of course, and are absolutely committed to this need for change. In order to actually move forward on this change, we're at the stage where we are absolutely looking to hearing directly from the people and the communities that are directly impacted by this.
So what kind of timeline then are we looking at to see a handover of ownership and governance then of the FFMC?
Based on the results of this solicitation of interest, we are hoping to be able to post a request for proposals later this calendar year. But it will depend largely on the expressions of interest that we do receive before March the 8th.
For those who are interested in submitting an expression of interest, how can they do that?
We invite all interested partners and stakeholders to share all their views and submit their interest through our website, our DFO website. There is a template online that folks can complete. The solicitation closes on Friday, March 8th, so hoping to hear from all by then. I think the last point that's important for listeners is that the Government of Canada, they recognize the Government of Canada is really committed to the importance of the freshwater fishing industry, particularly as it relates to remote and Indigenous communities. We are committed to this industry remaining viable through a successful transformation of the corporation.
Bonnie, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today here on the show.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much, Marjorie.
Bonnie Wong-Fortin is the Director General of Strategic Policy and Priorities for Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Now, for more information, you can visit the Fisheries and Oceans Canada website. The deadline to submit an expression of interest is March 8th.
CBC Sports is your source for sports coverage and insights you won't find anywhere else. Get the athlete's real story on the Player's Own Voice podcast, hosted by Anastasia Busis. Find Player's Own Voice on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. And whether you're a hardcore fan or just looking to hold your own in the conversation, the Buzzer newsletter helps make you smarter about sports. Subscribe today at cbcsports.ca/thebuzzer.
12:21 now. Well, it is Thursday. Yes, happy leap day, leap year. But it is time now for a visit from our word nerd, Elizabeth Withy. And this week's word is something that you're bound to hear during a Canadian winter.
Music from the skating rink drifts across the town, and the stars are heaven high above forever.
There's this funny word we like to use when we talk about hockey, skating, curling, and ringette. Rink. Typically prefaced with the. Where'd you leave the car? The rink. Who makes the best fries and gravy in town? The rink. When did you first kiss? During second intermission, outside the rink.
You were there just staring at me at the long end of the rink. You and me.
A rink is a ground surface. Typically, it's made of ice, and it's used for the cold sports, as I like to call them, the ones you play on skates, as well as curling. A rink is also a building, the place where you find that icy surface, or a wooden surface, if you happen to be into roller skating, which happens in a roller rink. Rinks weren't always icy or indoors. The term comes from Scotland in the 1300s. It was used in reference to a patch of ground measured and used for various sports: combat, jousting, racing. Not until the late 1700s did the term rink start being used in reference to curling. And it would be another century before we started saying rink to talk about roller skating floors and ice hockey battlegrounds. Why rink to begin with? It might be from Old French, rank with a C or rang, meaning row or line, a nod to the measuring of sporting areas. But it's also likely something that got confused with ring, not the jewelry, the type of ring used for a sporting contest. Today, rink can also be a word for the team playing that sport. The Ontario rink won the Scotties Tournaments of Hearts this year. One quick bit of fun is the word rinky-dink, meaning amateur, small-time, even bad quality. Rinky-dink comes from the era of World War I. It's used to describe something trivial or worthless. It's believed to come from carnival speak, maybe a word imitating the banjo music in a parade. Could a rink be rinky-dink? Yeah, I think, though the ice would definitely stink. Wink, wink. For CBC Radio, I'm Elizabeth Whitty.
Rocking around the curling rink, you try to throw her nice and straight. If you have some luck and sweep real hard, you'll place her.
Well, if there's a word that you're wondering about, you should drop a line at wordnerd@cbc.ca. Again, wordnerd@cbc.ca. You're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Glenn Suter has always pursued music as a passion project, and he's aiming to do it more now that he's easing into retirement. The Regina singer-songwriter hopes to tour North America soon with his wife. This is Glenn's latest, a love song called End of the World.
I want to be there as your light shines through, so rare and fine, such a precious pearl. I want to walk with you to the end of the world. Path we're on may be nothing but stones, in a sea of people, but somehow alone. We'll ride the waves, every crash and curl, side by side to the end of the world. the sun always comes up in the east. I know it's just another star, but every sunrise offers some relief, 'cause her light is gonna shine wherever we are. Sometimes at night the stars will guide, and other times we'll want to run and hide away from the race as we twist and twirl, hanging on to the end of the world. And I can see you, maybe you see me too. I'm gonna be there as your light shines through, so rare and fine, such a precious pearl. I want to walk with you to the end of the world. When it's me and you, there's no end to the world.
Out of Regina, that was Glenn Suter with End of the World. Some current temperatures right now. Just a reminder, we do have a snowfall warning for a good portion of northern Manitoba. Brandon right now, drifting snow at -10. Ice crystals in Churchill, -28. Wind chill feels like -41. Drifting snow in Flin Flon at -16 with an east-southeast wind right now gusting to 50. And in Thompson at this hour, -19 under a mainly sunny sky. Well, still ahead here on Radio Noon. A Manitoba cat decided he wanted more than just a walk down the street. Snickers. The cat decided he wanted to travel more than 100 kilometers away from home. We're going to hear more coming up, as well calling all future nurses and healthcare aides. Assiniboine Community College opened its doors last night to invite future students to take a look at the programs it offers. Stay with us. Your CBC Local News with Matt Humphrey is next.
This is CBC News. Thank you, Marge. At 12:30, we're at -12 with mostly cloudy skies over downtown Winnipeg. It's good to be with you this afternoon. The province of Manitoba has released its 5-point plan to reform bail systems and crack down on repeat offenders. Crown attorneys will look at the community impact of releasing someone on bail. They will have better communication between different police forces and enhanced community monitoring and supervision. And the City of Winnipeg will receive $3 million for 12 new officers to track down people who regularly violate their bail conditions. Acting Winnipeg Deputy Chief Dave Dalal says this means police can give Crowns a more complete picture.
It might not just be smashing a business window of a single business. The Crowns will have a full picture because the officers have the time to focus on the full background of the priority offender and say, this person smashed 46 windows this last month, right? And so it provides the Crown more information on the front end to save them some work.
The province will also hold a safety summit to discuss the root causes of crime. As of 11:30 Eastern tonight, Mexican travelers entering Canada will again require a visa. The federal immigration minister says the move was prompted by a sharp increase in asylum seekers from Mexico. Tom Perry has your details.
Speaking in Spanish to make sure his message is getting through, Immigration Minister Mark Miller confirmed Canada is tightening restrictions for travelers from Mexico starting tonight.
Mexican citizens will need a visa to come to Canada or obtain a valid electronic travel authorization if they hold a valid U.S. non-immigrant visa, or have held a Canadian visa in the past 10 years and are traveling by air on a Mexican passport.
More than 25,000 Mexicans applied for asylum in Canada last year. Miller says most of those claims were rejected or abandoned. Quebec Premier François Legault had urged Ottawa to take action as many people arriving from Mexico settled in his province. Legault has asked the federal government for $1 billion to help Quebec provide services for asylum seekers from Mexico and other countries. Tom Perry, CBC News, Ottawa.
And Environment Canada's senior climatologist says February brought Winnipeg relentless warmth. David Phillips says it's only the past 3 days that have been more typical for this time of year. He says the average temperature this February was 7 degrees warmer than normal.
Sometimes you don't get any melting temperature like we saw last March in Winnipeg. Well, February, you typically would see 5 of those. Well, there were 13, nearly half the days in the month had melting temperatures during the day. So no matter what way you looked at it, it was spectacularly mild, particularly in February.
Phillips says climate change and El Nino are causing the warm weather. He says Winnipeg's had one of the warmest Februaries in 150 years. That's your CBC News from Winnipeg.
Wow, we've seen a fluctuation of temperatures this winter, I would say, here in
That's been a
Manitoba.
gas.
Yeah, we've got snow in some parts. I mean, we did get recent snowfall here, but we could have used more. It was dry for sure.
I knew a cat named Snickers once.
Did you?
Yeah. He died last year.
Oh, no.
Sorry to bring you down. I was thinking about that.
Aw.
We called him Snickerdoodle. It started off as Snickers.
Yeah.
And then Snickerdoodle.
Yeah.
And then just Doodle.
Oh.
And then that was it.
Oh, well, our next story here has a happy ending. So,
Good.
yes.
Wow.
We'll bring you
I
that
don't really
shortly.
get that dark. All right. Back
Thanks a lot,
soon.
Matt. That is Matt Humphrey with your CBC local news update. Well, I mean, if you're talking about how dry it's been, Riley Lachuk, our CBC weather specialist here, has been tracking.
Mhm.
I mean, the north, though, maybe kind of a mixed story here because they have actually seen some warmer temperatures. We know that because some winter roads were not able to be set up. But they are under a snowfall warning right now.
Yeah, I'm going to back up just a bit back to what Dave Phillips was saying.
Mhm.
You can hear more of that coming up on CBC News at 6 tonight on YouTube, of course, and on television. Third warmest February on record, if we're talking about Winnipeg specifically. 1870s and 1998 were the other two warmest that we saw in terms of temperature, average temperature in February. So that's talking temperature, but yeah, we did get across southern Manitoba generally about a third of the precipitation that we normally get through the winter months, which we did not see. Healthier snowpack, though, like you said, yes, in the north, and that will lead us right into the snowfall warning that we have in place right now for a good portion of northern Manitoba. So Lynn Lake, the Flin Flon region, Thompson, Gillam, into the Shamattawa area as well. Not quite into the God's Lake, Island Lake region, but yeah, widespread snow coming to northern Manitoba. This looks like it will drop something like 10 to 15 centimeters of snow by the time we get into Friday for northern Manitoba. Few flurries still moving through southern Manitoba. Otherwise, we're looking at a mainly cloudy day, some sunny breaks as we get through the afternoon today. But then we see the main area of low pressure move into central Manitoba. This will bring some snow. Good chance of flurries to the Swan River and the Paw regions, but a more steady snow for Flin Flon through Lynn Lake, Thompson, the region that is currently under the snowfall warning. So as we get through Friday, we're looking at snow spreading through northern Manitoba, moving to the northeast into the Hudson Bay coast by the time we get into the early part of Saturday morning. In terms of accumulations, 10 to 15 centimeters generally. Could see some higher pockets of precipitation as we get through into the later part of Friday. I know some of the forecast modeling is giving Thompson about 22 centimeters of snow by the time we get to lunchtime on Friday. I think that's overshooting it a bit. I think generally 10 to 15 centimeters by the time we get to about this time tomorrow. So temperatures right now, minus 12 in Winnipeg, minus 10 in Brandon and Portage la Prairie. Looking further to the west, though, we have that warm front that is pushing through. This will warm temperatures up as we get through the night tonight. So we're looking at minus 7 at the moment for both Saskatoon and Regina. Warming up to about +2 for the Melita region this afternoon, -4 for Brandon. I think we've got a shot at -7 here in Winnipeg this afternoon, but the temperature rises to -5 by the time we get to the morning hours tomorrow. Up to +3 for your Friday in Winnipeg with a sun-cloud mix. Cloud starts to move in again for Saturday. Then we have another area of low pressure that will swing in, bringing us, I've got 5 to 10 centimeters for the Winnipeg region right now for Sunday. Some of the forecast models still disagreeing on what exactly accumulations will be. So we're following the track of that. Periods of snow for Monday and -11 with us on Cloud Mix for Tuesday.
Well, thank you very much, Riley.
You're welcome.
That is CBC weather specialist Riley Lachuk. And of course, Riley will have the very latest coming up this afternoon on Up to Speed, 3 to 6 o'clock here on CBC Radio, as well on CBC Winnipeg News at 6 on CBC Television, streaming on CBC Gem and CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. It is 12:37 now. For pet owners, losing a pet is devastating. But for my next guest, this story has a happy ending. The cat came back for Lindsay Whitting, who lives in the Cypress River area. Now, earlier this week, her 8-month-old cat, Snickers, went missing. Turns out Snickers wanted more than just to walk down a few blocks from home. He ended up wandering to a whole different part of the province. Now, I don't want to give the story away, so Lindsay joins me now. Hi, Lindsay.
Hello.
So take me back. What happened on Monday when Snickers went missing?
Well, we had a business call, and I had showed up from a previous appointment, and the gentleman had left around, I would say, 5:45. And then it was that evening we couldn't find him, and then we just figured, okay, maybe he'll come out of the woodwork on the farmyard, and the next morning we pretty much realized he was gone.
When you realized he was gone, I mean, what was your reaction? Your kids too. What did they think?
Well, they were still hopeful at that point because being a farm kitty, they could be here, there, or anywhere. But it really probably hit later morning when we're like, okay, he is gone. Like, we need to pinpoint it. So at that time, we realized he probably hopped in the business truck that left our yard. Yes.
And so what did you do next?
I contacted the gentleman who was at our yard, and he told me, well, I ended up in Brandon, and he checked for me, and he didn't see a kitty. So then I figured, okay, well, if he made it to Brandon, then I'm going to post on the Bella Facebook page, which is the Brandon and area lost animals. So that was probably early afternoon when I made the post.
So give us a sense of how far Brandon is from where you live. You live in the Cypress area, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We live just south of Cypress River, so my husband figured about 75 miles.
Wow. That's quite the trek.
Yes.
Describe for us, what kind of cat is Snickers?
He is basically your regular farm cat, cute, long-haired with white and black and gray spots.
Okay.
And about 8 months old.
Oh, he's just a young little guy.
Yes, he is.
So now you post on this website, the Bala website, that your cat is missing. You've been in touch with the person who was visiting your house, and so how were you able to locate Snickers? What happened?
Well, about 8 o'clock Tuesday evening, I seen a post on the Bala website from a woman saying, I think we found your kitty. My boyfriend was trying to contact you. So I'm like, oh, wow, really? And so I phoned him back. I seen it was a missed call, and he's like, I'm 100% sure it's your kitty from the post on Facebook. And he sent me the picture, and it totally was. And he said, I'll take him in for the night, I'll feed him, and we made arrangements to pick him up yesterday.
And so when you heard that someone found Snickers, what did you think?
Oh, I was over the moon. My kids could hear me because I was in the living room, and my daughter could hear that it was a happy conversation, so she came running out from the kitchen, and then by the end of the conversation, my whole family was in the living room, and we were on cloud nine, so it was pretty sweet.
What does Snickers mean to your family?
Well, like I said, we're not a huge cat family, but we got him as a kitten, and we just kind of took him in, and yeah, he's been kind of, the kids love him. He's super sweet and quiet and just hangs out, and yeah, he's just an all-around good kitty.
Now, how is he doing?
Really well. Really well, yeah. Yeah, just went right into eating. The gentleman and his girlfriend that found him said he ate and drank that night and was in good spirits, and then when he got home here, just eating, drinking, and doing a lot of sleeping.
So how did he get away from home, like so far? You said 75 miles is the
Yeah.
distance between your home and Brandon. How did he end up getting that far away from home?
Well, because he hopped in the truck because the temperatures plummeted, so he was under the hood because it was probably a bit warm, and he just stayed under that truck. And then we assume when the gentleman got to Brandon, he stayed there, and then I think he ended up about 3 blocks away from where the gentleman had parked his truck, so not terribly far, but that's where he was found.
Mm-hmm. And cats love warm spaces, don't
Yes, they most certainly do. Yes.
So it sounds like Snickers is doing great and that he's settling back in at home. What will you do to prevent him from heading on to another road trip?
Well, we've made a general consensus here. He's not allowed outside until spring.
Well, I'm glad to hear that this story has a happy ending and glad to see that Snickers is doing great.
Yes,
Lindsay,
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for calling.
Lindsay Whitting lives in the Cypress River area. Her 8-month-old cat Snickers ended up over 100 kilometers away in Brandon. Snickers was reunited with the family this week.
All over Turtle Island, host Rosanna Deerchild welcomes you to Unreserved.
Indigenous peoples are retelling history through an Indigenous lens.
Unreserved, celebrating 10 years, looking back at how far we've come, and looking forward to the journey ahead.
How do we keep the story going?
Unreserved with Rosanna Deerchild. Now at a new time, Sunday afternoon at 2:30 in Newfoundland, 3 Pacific, 4 Mountain, and on demand on CBC Listen.
New music now from Manitoba roots band The Prairie Joggers. This one is called Deep Valley.
Hunt County accent, everybody loves. Up in the pageant, can't see it in her eyes. Watch her footsteps, they're falling out of time. Get a little closer. See what it's like. She's signs of trouble home in Greenville. Call it karma, say what you will. Purple Martin sat on the sill, left her moment, hands tied to the wheel. She's deep in the valley, California. Something unknown, a song all day. See them glimmer, strings on display. Found a talent for running away. She's makes no difference, hurts to be wrong. What's dead in winter was dead all along. Made up with glamour, dark and pink. Backcountry nowhere, west side of here. She's
That is new music from the Prairie Joggers. That is Deep Valley. 14 minutes now to 1 o'clock. Some current conditions right now around the province at this hour. Winnipeg seeing drifting snow at -12. It's windy to east-southeast wind, gusting to 45 right now in Brandon, drifting snow and -10. Assiniboine Community College in Brandon opened their doors last night to future nursing students and healthcare aides. ACC invited guests to learn more about the practical nursing and comprehensive healthcare aid programs. CBC's Chelsea Kemp spoke with Della Mansoff. Mansoff is the academic chair for the healthcare aid program at ACC. Chelsea started by asking why the college wanted to host the open house.
We are so short of healthcare providers in Manitoba right now that we need all the healthcare aides and all of the practical nurses that we can possibly put out into the workforce.
What are potential students going to learn when they come by this evening?
They are going to learn all about the program, how to enter the program, what their requirements are for the program. They're going to learn how dynamic the program is, some of the lab components that they'll use, things that make the program unique and different from other places.
And so how does it work? Do you kind of do the presentation in the theater, and do they get to tour the labs here?
Yes, yeah. Once we're completed the presentation, the students will be toured through, or the prospective students will be toured through the programs, through the program areas like the Hollow Suite, which is our high fidelity suite, our regular labs, as well as classroom spaces, so they are aware, and our admin offices.
What's it look like when they come into somewhere like the Hollow Suite? Do they kind of get to see what the hands-on learning looks like?
Absolutely. The Hollow Suite is probably the premier suite because it has our high fidelity mannequins.
What is high fidelity?
That means these are mannequins that are controlled by a laptop computer or a tablet, and these mannequins are capable of doing things like having a heart attack, giving birth, having a stroke, simulating anaphylactic shock. So we have a child, an adult male, and an adult female mannequins in the suite. Quite often, they can be directed to do whatever it is that the student requires. Even if you're giving a medication that you're doing wrong, it can show that the person you've created a heart attack or you've created an embolism. So we can recreate all of those in a safe environment so that the students actually get a feel of what that looks like. And
when it comes to nights like this, what kind of potential students are you hoping to see show up?
Anyone with an interest and a passion and wanting to learn about healthcare. We get everyone from 17-year-olds who are still in school to 40 and 50-year-olds who have looked at changing their entire career path or coming back into the health career that may have retired for a while or have gone just looking for some upgrading.
Well, and when you talk to them, do you kind of focus more at what going to ACC can do for your career, or do you touch on rural healthcare as well and kind of you're needed in the province?
We look at all of it because we do have rural rotating sites in. We've got a permanent campus in Dauphin. We have a permanent campus in Portage at Southport. We go to rural sites like Neepawa right now. We've got First Nations communities that we deal with. So we deal with rural as well as urban. So it's wherever the nursing needs are. We're pulling students in from all over the province and into Saskatchewan.
Olivia Day.
Why did you want to come out?
I'm actually in the comprehensive healthcare program at Crocus, and it's just such a good bridge to the practical nursing, and I've always kind of had a passion to go into something like nursing.
What is it about nursing?
I've always loved to help people, making a difference in the world. I feel like nowadays it's kind of hard to do that, but with nursing there's always jobs and always ways to do that.
What's it been like studying at Crocus?
It's awesome. It's definitely very compact, but it's going to be so worth it when we get out on practicum.
What do you kind of want to do in the future? Like, do you see sticking close to Brandon, or do you want to see other parts of Canada or the province?
So I want to do the 2 years here at ACC and then use that to bridge me to finish my RN, probably in BC, and then eventually work like abroad with travel nursing.
What is it about travel nursing?
There's so many opportunities overseas and with different kinds of people that will really help me build my skills.
Do you have other friends who are interested in like nursing?
Yeah, actually one of my closest friends and I that we're kind of doing this all together on our own journey.
And do you have the same kind of plans, or are there other people who maybe want to do something different?
Pretty much the same plans, but she just wants to stay here. I'm kind of the one who's wanting to go other places with it.
Well, and can I ask, how old are you?
I'm only 17, so yeah.
How did you get into nursing?
I don't know, like my first job, which I'm still at, was at a care home, and just seeing like how a smile can make someone's day, it just makes me want to go do bigger things with that.
How old were you when you started at the care home?
I was 16, so I've only been there about a year and a half, but I knew as soon as I wanted to get a job that I was going to be at a care home, not like McDonald's or something.
Well, and the soonest you would start here would probably be September then?
Yes, yeah, I'm planning to do the September intake.
What's it take to get in at ACC? How do you kind of prep for it?
So I've completed the prep for nursing, basically just like math and stuff, and the application process was super easy, and they actually came to the Crocus Healthcare Aid class and talked about admission, which was really good.
So what do you want to learn tonight then?
I don't know. I was more interested in seeing like the labs and stuff and what it's going to look like here on campus.
Yeah. Where is your practicum going to be?
I want like acute hospital, maybe palliative, something like that. Yeah.
Would it be here? Would you want to like go try somewhere smaller or maybe Winnipeg?
Probably like here or Winnipeg. I like busy hospitals, more fast-paced.
Yeah.
That is Olivia Day, a potential student who attended Assiniboine Community College's open house for future practical nursing and comprehensive healthcare aid programs. She spoke with CBC's Chelsea Kemp last night. 12:53, you're listening to Radio Noon here on CBC Radio 1, 89.3 FM, 990 AM in Winnipeg, also on the CBC Listen app and streaming on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. Well, a tune now from Winnipeg indie band Neighbor Andy. This is Last Call. off their debut album Wild One. That was Winnipeg band Neighbor Andy with Last Call. Well, coming up tomorrow on Radio Noon, Saving the Strand Theatre. The theatre in Melita is seeing low attendance numbers, and now the owners of the theatre are turning to the community for help. We're going to have that coming up on Radio Noon tomorrow. Tune in then to hear more. Well, some current conditions right now around the province. Just want to mention again, we do have a snowfall warning that is in effect for a good portion of northern Manitoba, anywhere between 15 centimeters or up to 15 centimeters by Friday night. Brandon right now, drifting snow at -10. Churchill ice crystals at -28. Wind chill for you feels like -41 right now. In Thompson, mainly sunny and -19. And in Winnipeg today, well, we are expecting to see some sunny breaks. We're actually starting to see some sunshine already this afternoon. Wind out of the southeast at times gusting to 40, a high of -7. Tonight dropping down to a low of -10, but overnight the temperature will rise to -12 by tomorrow morning. Partly cloudy tomorrow, 3 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. Right now in the city, drifting snow, -12. It's windy out there, east-southeast wind gusting to 45. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Radio Noon today and spending part of your lunch hour with us. I'd like to thank the incredible folks who worked on the show today. May McKillop, Corey Funk, Chelsea Kemp, Matt Humphrey, Riley Laychuk, Brad Lillies switching our show on CBC Manitoba's YouTube channel. Our show director and technical producer here, Dylan Longhurst. Show producers Nellie Gonzalez, and our senior producer of audio is Leif Larson. I'm Marjorie Dowhouse. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Coming up next here on CBC Radio 1, Quirks and Quarks. Have a good one.